everyone, in this video I want to give you some suggestions around the solo training of throwing. Now obviously it's difficult to practice throwing on your own, but it's not impossible to work some of the technical components of it. Now what you're not going to get is you're not going to get those sense of unbalancing and timing and direction that you can only get from a living, breathing, moving partner, right? But we're in the situation we're in, so what we can do is we can work the technique, we can work the footwork, these elements that we can practice. So I want to look at a number of different ways in which you can practice throws, and then obviously you choose the ones that are applicable and appropriate to you depending on what space and what equipment you've got. Now these can work for lots of different throws, these methods, but the one I thought I'd pick is Funakoshi's, what Funakoshi calls Tani Atoshi, the valley dropping throw. So it's one of Funakoshi's 9 throws. Itaman refers to it as a back riding throw. It's most commonly known as a shoulder throw. We'll look at 2 variations. We'll look at the one-armed variation and the 2-armed version. So Japanese name for that is Ippon Seoi-nage. That's how it's most commonly referred to in judo and jiu-jitsu, although there is that confusion with Funakoshi choosing to give the throw a different name, compounded by the fact that there is another throw in judo called Tani Atoshi, where you move behind the partner and pull them back. So often when we refer to this as Tani Atoshi, people will say, oh, you've got the name wrong. But we haven't, we're just using Funakoshi's name for it. So whatever you call it, you know, wrestling, old style boxing, the flying mare, it doesn't matter what you call it. But a 1-arm shoulder throw, 2-arm shoulder throw, we'll look at various ways in which we can train it solo. So the first way we can do it is just simply by working the footwork. So in addition to seeing the throw in a number of the old texts, we obviously also see the throw in the kata as well. Probably an obvious example would be Pinan Godan or Heian Godan, where we have the arm pulling, the body shifting, and the head turning in the opposite direction. That head turn obviously being a big part of setting up the rotation for the throw. The kata maps out in a basic way how the feet should move. In this drill, we're going to do it in a slightly more free-flowing way. When you're doing this with whichever throw you're doing, you need to be mindful of the unbalancing that you're trying to achieve as well. So with this throw, we're throwing the enemy forwards, so therefore we need their balance broken in that direction. So we shouldn't be moving and slamming into them. We'll be turning in front of them, but then pulling them towards us, so the direction of their momentum is correct for the throw. So when we do this little drill, what should be happening is at the end of it, you should almost be falling forwards. Now this is just one example for this particular throw, but for whatever throw you're working, you need to be thinking of the mechanics of the throw itself and how that would work. So this is one very basic way in which you can drill your throwing, is you find a space and then you work the basic footwork. In this one, because it's a rotational throw, I'm just going to keep moving back and forth, back and forth. So this is something you could do so many repetitions or for so long, but you just try and get the footwork as quick as you can. And you can obviously do that as part of your solo training routine. You may do it for like a minute as part of your cardiovascular workout. There's loads of ways you can work it, but the idea is just getting that footwork to work exactly as one would do it for the throw itself. So let's break that down a little. So we'll just go over a few of the mechanics of the throw itself. So obviously you've got one hand that you're going to pull with and rotate, which we see in Pinan Godan. You know, this pulling action. As in Godan, we're stepping away because we want to bring the enemy's mass towards us. And this arm is shooting up underneath. So it's going underneath their arm, so that their arm ends up on this part of the body here, this part of the shoulder. So it's caught in this V. It shouldn't come over the top, because then you don't get the rotation across the widest part of your body, and you're effectively giving them a strangle as well. You want to step and turn. The idea, of course, is we are moving towards the enemy on this one, but having done that, we pull so they come towards us, all right? So there should definitely be that tilt forwards. You want your legs loaded, and you want the weight in the balls of your feet, not your heels. So if you're doing this right, you should effectively be falling forwards a little bit at the end of it, which is why for this particular one, we can drill it where we just simply keep going one side then the other side. So just basically go through the footwork for this again. So we're stepping across, pulling with this arm as we step in. So we're pulling the enemy towards us, legs are sprung, and we'll effectively be falling forwards at the end. So we'll just quickly run through a few of those as a drill, which obviously you can do for a set period of time or a set number of repetitions. So if you want to, you can do the two-handed version. Where that would differ is you would have one arm gripping the arm or the sleeve, and the other arm would have hold of the lapel or the clothing here. You're going to lift the arm up as this one comes in underneath, and then again using both arms to rotate over. So instead of having this hand not gripping anything, which is on the one arm shoulder throw, on the two arm shoulder throw it would be holding the lapel, lifting the arm up, bringing the elbow in underneath to this position here, and then you're ready to drive forwards with both arms. So it's also possible to drill that one solo in the same way, as it is with lots of throws. So another way we can drill throws is just by using a belt. We're going to use the belt as the limbs. So what you basically need is the belt and something secure that you can tie it to. Now you need to make sure that what's going to be pulling on it, whatever it is, isn't going to move or isn't going to come loose. This is a time where the health services are already stressed, and the last thing they need is some martial artist who's kind of tripped and fell and hurt themselves because they didn't think about what they were doing before they did it. So I'm going to use a tree, but you know, whatever you've got that's definitely strong enough and secure enough that isn't going to come free, that you can pull upon. This is another way in which we can drill throwing actions solo. So obviously, you know, it's fun and one way in which you can drill your throwing, but it's nice if you've got something actually to pull on. So one simple thing you can do is tie a belt to something secure. Make sure that what you tie it to is secure, and make sure the knot is secure as well. Right? Leave both ends hanging, because then you've got two arms you can effectively use. Now obviously if I throw and uproot this tree, it'd be bad for the tree. But I won't be able to do it, right? You know, there's no way, you know, I'm going to root it. So I'm going to pull, but obviously that energy will kind of pull me back into the tree a little bit. But we need to be mindful of the fact that what we're thinking of is pulling the enemy forwards, okay? So there wants to be a strong pull on this. It shouldn't be left slack, right? If it's slack, that means you're moving towards the object. What you want to be doing is pulling the object towards you. Okay, so in this case, it's not going to move. So I'll show you how we can drill the one arm shoulder throw with the tree and a belt. So as before, we've worked the one-handed version, we'll work the two-handed version. On this one, the longer tail of the belt, we're simulating the grip on the sleeve, the arm, and the shorter one, that's simulating the grip on the clothing or the lapel. So again, as you'll see, this is the arm, this is the lapel. Lifting the arm up as we step in, turn the elbow under the opponent's arm to this position, and then we would drive forwards in order to complete the two-arm shoulder throws up to here, to there, and then pull. And obviously we can just drill that, you know, for a set number of repetitions or a certain number of certain amount of time. So the final way we're going to look at drilling throws is using a bag, as a bag and a belt combined. So we're making a makeshift grappling dummy. Now obviously it's no substitute for practicing with a person, because the bag doesn't shift its weight. It's a lot easier to throw the bag than it is a human being, but at least now you've got some weight that you can move. And you know, it's kind of fun because we can work the follow-ups as well on the end of it. Obviously for this one you're going to need a bag. It needs to be a big bag as well. You're going to need a 6-foot bag, and I appreciate not everyone will have one of those. Also you're going to need the space in which to do it, and I appreciate not everyone will have the space. That bag can flip up pretty high sometimes, so again it's probably something you're going to need to do outdoors. Obviously at the moment we're all on lockdown, so if you have a garden and you have a 6-foot bag, then this is something you can do. If you don't, then obviously you can stick to the other training method. So let's have a little look at how we can make the bag into something we can practice throws on as well. So if you want to make a dummy out of a bag, you're going to need some tape, a belt, all clothing, and a big bag. First thing we're going to do is for the chains, personally I think it's better, show you those, if they're towards the bottom of the bag, but they still want to be taped up, because there's a danger obviously as you're whipping it round they can come loose. It's better if when you throw the bag you effectively throw it upside down, so they're towards the bottom, they're well away from your head. But again, first thing we need to do is make sure that they're nicely secured. So the next thing we do is add the arms to the bag, the belt. When you tie it on really tightly so it digs into the belt, because we don't really want it sliding up and down. So you can see what I've done here. I've put the belt on, it's cutting in, so I've pulled it very tight and secured strongly there with a double knot. So that's the arms done. Next thing we do is we dress it. Okay, so there you go, right? So we've got the arms, the cord filled through the arms here. We've got the clothing on the top of it. Just gives you some cloth to grip. Generally speaking though, you want to be grabbing the belt underneath the cloth for when you're doing it. So for example, if I was to grab here doing this will slide off. But if I grab the belt underneath it, I get the feeling still of gripping the clothing. But again, you've got something strong enough underneath it as well. So that's the compromise we're going to make. And also the fact you put clothing on it makes it slightly more human. So having adapted the bag, the next thing to do is find a safe space to train. It needs to be large enough that you can't throw the bag into anything or anyone. It also needs to have a soft enough surface for you and the bag to land on. Also, because it's a bag, make sure that you do your follow-ups too. So you can think of striking and escaping from a self-protection perspective. You can also look at doing follow-ups, you know, joint locks and things, maybe more from a consensual violence perspective as well. Because you've still got those limbs there, you know, so you can make use of those too. So here's some footage of me playing around with the bag. So there's a number of ways in which you can work throwing techniques solo. It's obviously no substitute for training with a partner, right? Especially in live practice. But, you know, as a supplement to that live practice, it can be useful. And on occasions like we find ourselves in now, where pretty much all of us are forced to solo train, you know, it's better than doing nothing, right? So we can work the footwork. If we've got no equipment at all, you know, we can just mimic the motion and get the flow of it going. If we do have like a belt or something we can pull, we can secure that. And again, we can practice the arm motion with those as well as the footwork. And if we have a bag and a bit of wide open space, then obviously we can make a grappling dummy and practicing the throwing, all of which are fun to do. The bag one is particularly fun because you feel you're actually throwing something, because you are. And then you've got the, you know, the impacts and the follow-ups and everything else. Hard work too, because then you've got to lift the bag up and throw it again, and lift the bag up and throw it again. So it's a good muscular endurance workout too. It'll get you sweating heavy and, you know, breathing hard too. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's inspired you to think of some other ways in which you can train solo, and I'll be back with more soon.